Welcome to Roast and Toast with Movember, a fireside chat where we set fire to annoying manly traits that get in the way of our health and well-being and celebrate the ones that don't. Ollie, how about you, man? What do you want to put forward for roasting or toasting?
I think the relationship between like friends, like blokes, has changed so much now, at least in my experience with my best mates, where it's just, I don't know, there's a sense that you can just really be yourself. You don't have to put on this hard exterior facade. You can just get a bit like vulnerable. I went through a breakup earlier in the year where, you know, I was feeling heaps anxious and just obviously like emotional, on the verge of tears sort of things. And I know I could go to my mates and I could just let it out and they'd be there to support me. I don't know, there's just this sense of realness now, like between friends, where you can really just, you know, say I love you to your mate, be emotional, be happy for them. It's just, I think it's changed and started to shift.
There's an important part to this all, which I think is it's good to be vulnerable and it's good to be open and it's good to be honest, but it's good to do that with people that you can trust.
In order for someone to be able to talk, you've got to be a good listener. We talk so often about talking, reaching out, opening up, but it's like, listen. Have to develop the skills of being able to listen, and I guess that's why you've been able to open up and be real with your friends, because I'd imagine they're all good listeners without judgment.
Yeah, 100%.
You're leading by example. If you're prepared to say to someone close to you, I'm heartbroken right now and I feel incredibly sad, I think more often than not, if it's authentic, the person feels inclined to lean in. That's what's so beautiful about vulnerability, is it breeds connection. More often than not, they felt that, they've experienced that, and you're offering an opportunity for them to go, you know what, I got messed up last year too. And then bang, that's when a bond happens. Like you often start talking and then people they just open up about something you might have even been there.
Making them realise it's okay to.
So what are we roasting or toasting? Is it
that friendships between
male friendship, authentic friendship? Cool, toast.
Toast to evolving friendships.
With my flat white. I'm not middle class, you're middle class.
Can I add a caveat to that, which I think is that like I also think we could toast to roasting.
Oh yeah. Do you mean like when a friend slags off another friend?
Not slags off, no. But there is something quite disarming in moments that I've only had with male friendships. I'm not saying it's exclusive to male friendship, but where it's like in probably some of the most painful scenarios, there's just this killer blow. This is like roast, and it's so it's not out of a place of this. It's not out of aggression.
It makes it like relaxed.
I have no friends that would not abuse me. And if my mum, I was at my mum's funeral,
I know what you mean.
It has to be. If I was at my mum's funeral, my 6 best friends would tell me a joke right there to make me, and that's what you want. You want people to be able to, because I feel like
it's a comfort thing, isn't it?
It's a balance.
It's so lovely.
It's balance. That's what I'm trying to say. It's balance.
Yeah, in moderation. I wouldn't like.
No!
That's what I'm trying to work. It's not every day, but it's
First thing in the morning.
But it takes a depth of friendship for that to run. Do you know what I mean? So if you're connected and you know you're cool with that person, say anything to
That's
me.
what I'm saying.
And it feels good. You actually feel comfortable. You're like, thank you for bursting that emotional balloon.
a toast to roast.
Toast.
I'll toast that one.
I can't trust the person that can't slag me off.
What would you want to put on the table for us to roast or toast?
Thing that I'd love to toast, hopefully you'll toast with me, is shout out to dads, man. Honestly, it's really created a brand new purpose in my life, not just in terms of me being a dad to them, but in terms of the things that I truly care for. I'm going to be honest, I wanted boys just because I thought I knew what I wanted for them.
Yes.
They're just going to follow
Based
in
on
my
your own
footsteps.
experience.
They're just going to be like mini-me's.
sport.
Exactly, and bloody play rugby.
Yes.
And then I had girls, and I'm so happy I've got girls, because whilst we're there to protect them, to nurture them, to educate them, they're educating me.
They make you a better human.
100%, they're exposing me to so many different things that just weren't within my ecosystem.
I didn't know girls had as much troubles. Do you know, like a girl walking through a park? Yeah. They might be wondering, I didn't even know about that until I had a little girl. It was blind to me. I have 6 brothers, and we were just beaten up. Do you know, it was just mad. It was just straight physical, and 5 of them are older. So when I had my girl at 23, so I was fairly young, but I remember when I had her, and then I started thinking of all the problems. You know, the wolf whistling, shit like that, were blind to me until I had a little girl. And then I started noticing it and all. Do you know what I mean? So
now I have girls, the amount of work that I want to do in that space, to be able to create a safe space and a world, communities for them to be able to thrive and grow up into. Allied to that, how good would our communities be if we all fought for something that didn't automatically impact yourself?
Yeah, shout
Shout
out
out to
to
good
dads.
To dads and to girl dads in particular. Paul, how about you? What would you want to put on the table for us to roast or toast?
I just think it's the term alpha male.
Yeah.
That's a term, and it annoys me because it's like, who said that you're an alpha male? People are selling courses on how to be an alpha male online.
But like the definition you're talking about is like popular. It's become popular from like Andrew Tate and people like that.
That's what I
They just
mean.
warp the meaning into this like disgusting
Being a
thing
prick,
that-
being a
yeah.
prick online is now.
You
like you're
shouldn't
an
need to
alpha.
say it, innit? The irony, of course, in one of the more toxic corners of the internet is that they call men simps if men are trying to please a woman or just engaging with women, right? However, they arguably are more simping more for men. Like everything they do is just for male gaze, right? Just being real, if you're taking your dating advice off a small community of men with toxic views, just speaking to men, it's not going to work. And they're going to find it out. Like, if you hate women and you go out into the world and you're like, right, blow these women up then, I'm going to give you a little spoiler. You're not going to get many women if your outlook on life is, I hate them, you know?
It's weird though, isn't it? You always hear it from people who are front and centre, but generally alpha males lead from behind, right?
Exactly. That term alpha male, anyway, if I could get rid of that, Jesus, I wouldn't.
I'm roasting that one as well.
Yeah, I want to roast that.
We'll scramble that one up
Roast the
then.
confusion
The term
on alpha
alpha
male.
male, when
How do we do it?
misused, has been chucked on the fire. Dom, what would you like to present for us to debate over whether we roast or toast?
The idea of what a man is, you have to be like this. If not, you're not a man. You will not be a man. You won't be like that. But there's so many different traits that make what a man is. We all have different personalities. We all have different interests. And I think that should be celebrated and not looked down upon. I started doing yoga like a month and a half ago. I was like, oh, fuck, let's go down, let's do it, whatever. And then after it, I started crying. And I just released like this, I kept yawning as well. And I was like, I had a great night's sleep, what's wrong? And then she was like, oh, it's just energy. She was this Australian like woman teaching us how to do it. She goes, it's just energy flowing through you. And then I now do it every morning and every night. I sleep better, I feel calmer, and you just feel in touch with your body.
I think there's a massive correlation between physical health and mental health. And when you're describing like your physical health and the exercises you do, we're just essentially talking about a release. Like, I played rugby, and so all of my training was geared towards a performance. Now I keep physically fit for my own mental well-being. I love just putting my headphones in for an hour and just blocking out everything. If it is just once a week, just carve out some time in that week to do something for yourself.
How about you, Ollie?
Yeah, I had to change my view on like how to be healthy a lot over the last 4 years. So I've got chronic fatigue, which I got like 4 years ago. And like growing up, like basketball, I played really competitively. I played at like semi-pro. I couldn't exercise. And I started getting like skinnier. And then I had like this almost like identity crisis. I'm like, who am I going to be then if I'm not kind of, you know, have muscles and like, girls aren't going to like me. I'm not going to be able to be confident anymore. And like this whole thing. And then it ended up being quite a positive thing because then I was more having to find this state of like contentment and like, which is so good for your mental health, but rather than from like how I looked physically, I don't know, my confidence isn't linked to my...
To you, how you look.
Off of that point then, are we going to chuck a defined idea of masculinity onto the fire?
Gotta
Are we going to
bust the
roast or
box.
toast?
Man, yeah, I want to roast that.
All right. I have to say, bye-bye archetypal male.
Roast.
Not entirely.
I think a little bit, man. Tiny little bit.
There's some bits that work. There's some bits that work.
Lads, we've got Wes Streeting on the phone, yeah? Health Secretary. If there was one thing that he could do to encourage men to engage and access the health service more, men being least likely to go to the doctors when they have an issue, what would it be?
Follow the data, follow the science. All the facts are there. We have a men's health pandemic. We truly do. It's so unignorable at this moment. The only thing we need to do, and I kind of get a little bit tired because you're asked to talk, you're asked to share, and that's what we're doing here today. The only thing that's truly needed is action. And Wes Streeting, who is the Health Secretary, he has everything available to him to be able to make a positive impact, to make this space a safer space for men.
What do you think that change would look like?
For me, it's adding extra resources for men, for it to be more accessible, whether that's helplines, hotlines, to be able to encourage more men to be able to have more conversations, whether it's helping the NHS to be able to make that more accessible, not just for men, but for everyone to be able to get the health service that they truly need. I know it sounds like a massive task, but truly I believe We only act and create action to things that we truly care about. So whatever happens from here should be symbolic of how highly important we believe the sector to be.
How important do you think a shift culturally is between us as men as well, as opposed to being, oh, I'm not going to the doctors?
Yeah, well, I nearly died of COVID. I was in my bed. I'll tell you, this is the honest truth. So I got it one day, so I was 7 days in, and I got it. And on the 8th day, you know, your oxygen level, my oxygen level went down to like 74%.
Wow.
So it was really bad. I couldn't really walk. And my mum rang an ambulance, and they rang me, and I was like, don't you dare come down to this house. I said, because I didn't want loads of people seeing me getting carted out on a, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm grand, it's only the flu. End up hanging the phone up. Next day, I started getting tics, so my oxygen level went down again. I then got my little brother to ring the ambulance because I couldn't breathe. I think I was 4 or 5 days in hospital, like 11 kilos. But I was just thinking to myself, if I had went the night before, I probably wouldn't have got as bad as I was. But the fact of me thinking, no, I don't want no help, it's the flu, you know what I mean?
I think so many of us have too much pride though, to sort of admit defeat and like, no, I'm strong, I can do this, I can get through it.
Get away from me.
You've got to just sort of accept that something's not right.
We can also be scared. I remember I lost my dad due to prostate cancer in 2021. And obviously that was like terrible time, and you trying to deal with it and wrestle with all of those emotions. And I'm at an age now, especially as a black man as well, where you're at high risk of prostate cancer. I didn't do anything for a year. But the only reason I didn't want to get myself checked is because I was scared that I might have it. Like, how counterintuitive is that? And we now know it's the most treatable of all cancer, but it's also the most common. So I don't know why it took me a year, but it was just for fear of them finding something. But the whole point of getting yourself checked is to find something so it can be treated. I got myself checked. You can just have a blood test. Thankfully, I don't have it.
So the government's about to launch their first men's health strategy. If we were in power, what's one thing we would be doing to improve men's health?
School system, everyone had to do PE.
We can all,
No, but that's huge.
Massive, I think it is.
We forget about it because it gets minimised to PE. We understand it because saying physical education is just longer. Physical education. My kids go to school, I want them to learn all the core subjects. I also want them to come out as rounder human beings. But the link between physical health and mental health is absolutely massive. Yeah. And PE seems to be the quickest thing to be flipped off the list in terms of importance.
I think as well the third space, an actual third space for young people, it's been completely forgotten about in recent years, and it's heartbreaking. And I think there's no...
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
So like a third space is like a youth club, for example, or
anywhere that's not the home or the school.
I'm super passionate about this, and I've lobbied and worked with the government on this, but so many kids feel so disenfranchised, and they often feel like there isn't that third space. There isn't something.
Because there literally isn't.
There isn't. We need to occupy their minds as well as their attention.
Jordan, what would you like to present for us to decide whether we roast or toast?
A disdain for femininity. I think there are many aspects to femininity as an energy that are really, really, really important to all human beings' well-being. And for men, I find it odd that we want to separate ourselves from that. Whereas with masculinity, it feels as if in the last 20, 30 years, women have been able to integrate that into their experience with no real resistance. I want to get rid of that.
Would you roast or toast?
I had roaster. I'm on his side. Well done.
Right hand for roast. I think that one is well and truly on the fire without much discussion. Agreed.
Did you do one?
Did I do? Oh no! Well done.
Well done.
Well, here we go.
I think anything which feels performative. I would like to suggest we roast performative masculinity. I was guilty of this. You know, I responded disproportionately to things because I felt like I had to posture and be a man as a kid because someone made noise. I had to make more. And it felt shit, and it didn't feel honest because it wasn't what I wanted to do in that situation.
So let's say someone is like bullying someone in school. That fella's not looking after himself. Is it me performing to try and stick up for him?
No, because that's coming from a good place.
Okay.
And that's because that's an emotion that you feel connected to that person to be a good friend, to stick up for them. If you're in a situation where you're almost, you're projecting a view
It's
or
when it
an
becomes more
opinion of-
competitive. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna outman you.
Okay.
You're not the biggest man here, I'm the biggest man, but what is it to be a man? Well, neither of us know, but we're just gonna puff our chests up.
I think it's performative when it's purely ego-driven, yeah. Because then it's like someone says, "Oh, you're an idiot," and then you turn around and say, "What'd you say?" And then you go up and like punch him.
Yeah, wild.
You don't need to do that. You know, like I feel like a toxic kind of trait to many men is like really like egos that get bruised really easily. I have to say I'm pretty content like with myself, and I don't know. I'm not gonna like rise up to something because it doesn't actually bother me.
That's a higher power, isn't it? Like, I always have a thing, if somebody said something on the street, I'm like, my badge of honour is I'd rather go out in this street as a man.
Get 'em.
Yeah, than not. But so you're saying that you could hear somebody say something and just carry on.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at not letting things get to me.
I'm exactly the same as you. I don't care. Like in my job, I'm constantly giving opinions, but to someone who's a complete stranger, and that's online as well, who has an opinion of me, which I know just isn't a representation of me, I'm cool with you, really.
It's always projection as well. But it's good that you guys live in like a state of stoicism where you just like, you know what, your opinion doesn't really rule anything about my character. That's strength.
What are you like about it?
I've got a massive ego. No, I'm not.
I could tell from many people.
No, I agree actually. I'd say I'd like to be like that. Sometimes I can be very outspoken because I have two brothers at home and I'm used to just clapping back at people. And I was bullied a lot when I was younger, so I'm just sort of used to being witty and thinking about a quick response. Yeah, I would like to aim to be more of the vibe where I'm just like, okay, cheers mate, have a good night.
That's probably a trait of true masculinity and strength, is being
Able.
able to not be affected by something that's really inconsequential. Performative masculinity.
I understand it now, so I can.
Me too, I understand it a bit better now too. It's good to talk.
Roast.
Performative masculinity on the fire. Thank you to my guests for a lively and entertaining chat. Thank you all. Be sure to follow Movember for updates on the men's health strategy. And if you're struggling with anything we touched on today, there are resources in the description. Reach out, talk to people, especially if you feel at all in need. Make sure you reach out and talk to people you trust, like we've all been doing today. Right, lads?
Yes.
Lads. Big up Movember.